So welcome everyone to Sports Stars Aren't Special. This is the podcast where we talk to athletes about while they excel in their field of sport, they're just like the rest of us with their own struggles behind closed doors. And this evening, myself and my co-host Keith are delighted to be joined by Mark O'Brien. Mark, how are you?
Yeah, I'm grand, thanks. How about yourself?
I'm really, really good, thanks. So
Good.
for people who don't know you, do you want to give us a little intro?
Well, yeah, Mark O'Brien, obviously I flew away to Derby when I was 15 to be a professional footballer. And for the last 10, 11 years, I got to fulfill that. And then the last 3 years, I've been a retired footballer due to, obviously, health reasons. But yeah, as I say, I'm just an Irish lad that's grown up from Ballyfermot and having a chance to live his dream.
And when did you know you were special in football? So bring us back to the start and growing up in Ballyfermot. And I know you're from a footballing background, your dad and your brother played. What was that like? And was there a kind of moment you're like, kind of good at this?
Do you know what? I wasn't say around 8, 9 years of age. I wasn't totally engrossed in football. I was just living and trying to follow in my brother's footsteps. Everything that my brother done, I just wanted to do. So I never really looked at it in a sense of this is what I want to be my career. But it was when I went up and I trained locally with Cherry Orchard and they just took a liking to me. And I was enjoying the fact of just kicking a ball around because my brother played with Cherry Orchard 2 years older than me. So there wasn't really much of an actual love for football, but I was actually just enjoying it because I was meeting new friends. But it was when I got to around 10, 11 years old, when I was about two years into it, I started to actually really, really enjoy it, and people were telling me how well I was doing. And then that's when all the kind of younger ages of playing for your Dublin youth sides and different things that I was getting chosen for that. Then as the years were going on a little bit more, I was getting picked for young Ireland ages. I was getting chosen to go and play in international games for Ireland. And it was just from them moments that football became my life, because I just felt as though this is actually something I'm really good at. I'm actually really enjoying it, and people are telling me I'm good at it. And football just took over my life, and there was never going to be anyone that was going to stop me from going over and playing.
Mark, are you one of those guys who you kind of any sport that you kind of have a go at, you're good at, or is there any sport particular that really just drives you mad when you're playing? For me, for example, I'm a football crazy guy as well, and I played golf for a little while, but it absolutely drove me insane.
I'd probably be exactly the same. I've tried to throw my hand at golf and stuff like that, and it's something that I could just never get to grips with. I don't mind the game of darts. I love playing a bit of a game of darts, but it's one of them things that I'd love to say that I can throw my hand at anything and I'll be good at it. Maybe in my own head, I'm probably the best in the world at it, but when it actually comes to playing it, I think darts is probably as far as I go to say that I'm actually not too bad at darts.
It's a great sport. You can't beat about the darts, bit the alley pally, So it's good fun, fun all round. But you were so young going to England, weren't you? But you had a very positive experience starting out at Derby, didn't you?
Yeah, so when I moved away at 15, I just finished my junior cert, then I flew over and
your junior cert, like a baby though, yeah.
Yeah, I literally just finished it that summer, and then I knew Derby wanted to take me over and sign me, so I never really thought of anything other than I cannot wait to get over and play. And I was lucky enough that because I love football that much, homesickness wasn't even an issue for me. I was just so excited to go over and play, and I went from playing with Derby's under 16s at the beginning, and then I registered at the age of 8. I registered at the age of 16 when I turned 16 in that November, so I got to play for the under 18s. Then I went after the Christmas time. I ended up playing for the reserve team once or twice, and then literally leading on to the end of that season, I ended up making my first team debut in that summer at the age of 16, and that was something that, the season before, I'm playing in the local park with Cherry Orchard, and then a year later, I'm playing in front of 20,000 people in the English Championship. And like I say, it felt like everything was just getting better and better and better. But I was just kind of taking it in my stride, because I was just in the whole mode of I'm loving what I'm doing. I'm just loving that I get to play football every single day. And there was and it was literally, like you say, it was like a dream come true. And it was just obviously it was quite difficult at the time after making the debut, but it's a memory that will live with me forever. Like getting to do that one season and everything just go exactly how you probably would dream of it to be and never expect it to be, but it actually went in my favour.
I mean, it's like going from playing in Cherry Orchard from one year to like making your debut, as you say, in front of 20,000 people for Derby County at 16 is just crazy. I mean, how do you even process that? I mean, you see now there's so many footballers that things can just go to their head. But you obviously, as you said, you kind of took things in your stride and you kind of were able to keep your feet on the ground. But like, how do you even process that? So you get a call up that you're going to be, making your debut for Derby. Like, what goes through your head at that point, thinking I'm going to be out here in front of 20,000 people? Like, how do you process that?
Yeah, like it's something that like it again just went in my stride. Like it's not something that like I actually thought about. It was more the fact of like any sort of level I was thrown in at, because it was football, I just threw myself in it, and I wasn't getting told to do anything different that I wasn't capable of doing. The manager wasn't telling me to be a fancy defender, take the ball down on your chest, make a pass, because coming out of Ireland, that was the last thing I would have ever done over there. It's like literally you're kind of rough and ready coming away from Ireland. But the manager just enjoyed and liked what I done. And as I was going on to make my debut, he literally said the same thing to me. He said, just kick it, head it, and defend. That's all I want you to do. And again, it was like you go on. So I think like when I look back at it, like I didn't speak to anyone going down on the bus. I'm with first team lads, and like you're kind of a bit shy and you're kind of a bit in your own shell and stuff like that. But I was like that when I was younger. But once I always got across the white line, and once I was out there on a football pitch, everybody was on the same level as me. So I would be telling people what to do, how to do it. And I'm like a 16-year-old, but the minute I come off the pitch, I wouldn't say hello to anybody. I just keep myself to myself. So it is just like you say, one of them things that I was lucky that I was 16 and I just took it in my stride. Like there was a couple of things that went on that season, and you go from saying I watched Match of the Day the year before, and you're watching Robbie Savage from the Premier League and all these different things, and now all of a sudden I'm playing on the same pitch as him, and he's the club captain. So as you say, it was all so surreal. But I think being 16 and just taking things in my stride and just having that year of just pure excitement and doing what I love just took over.
And it was at in that stage in your life that it was first noticed that you had an issue with your heart, wasn't it?
Yeah, so after I made my debut, I went home to Ireland, and then I came back in that following summer. And because I registered as a Derby County, I was able to be a first-year scholarship, and I had a routine heart scan. And then the routine heart scan came back, and basically they told me I had like a leak in my aortic valve, which again, at the time, I was told I won't need an operation for 50, 60, 70 years and football would be long gone. So it never really fazed me, and I didn't really like take notice of it as much. But
way in the future, like way.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was literally so far away where all I had in my head was the football would be finished by then. So I'll deal with it when it comes around. And then the more I trained and the more like that they were monitoring heart rates and different things in training, they realized my heart rate was up extremely high, like up around 220, 221, and my average was 203. So they kind of looked at it and said, maybe I'm just working really hard. But at the same time, they were like putting two and two together, that two of them could be the reason and why. And I got a lot more scans, and I found out that the valve was leaking that little bit more. And then I got another scan, found out that the valve had gone from, he put it on a scale of 1 to 10 and said it was around a 7 or an 8. And then after that, he put me in touch with a surgeon. And then the surgeon, as I say, like I'll always remember it like it was yesterday, that he came into a room where my mom, my dad, and the physio were all just sitting there, and me getting told probably a couple of weeks previous to that I won't need an operation for 20 to 30 years. Then he walked into the office with a model heart in his hand, and he just stood there and said, Mark, if you don't get this operation done this year, you're going to die. And that in itself was something where I remember, like, I was looking at him and I just felt as though you can't be speaking to me. Like, I made my debut last year. This can't be happening. Like you must be making a mistake kind of feeling. And he said, look, your heart is 3 times the size of what it should be. And kind of hearing different things like that, I didn't really know what to think. But again, I'll always say, like, when I was 16, it was another thing where I just asked, can I still play football? Like, I didn't care about the fact he's just told me that I could die that year. I didn't care about the fact that he told me that my heart is 3 times the size of what it should be. All I cared about was if I could still play football. And that's exactly what football meant to me. It was just something that it drove a lot of my life. And when he told me I'd be probably lucky enough to play down the park with my friends rather than actually play professionally again, that part probably broke me more than actually hearing about the open heart surgery.
Wow. So for anyone listening, so if we go back a little bit, so you make your debut at 16, and at 17 your pretty much career has come in your head crashing to the ground. So they've gone from telling you that you could get another 50 years to it kind of, incrementally going down to the surgeon coming in and telling you that if you don't get this surgery now, you'd be lucky if you can play in the park with your friends. And that's at 17 now, is it?
No, I was still 16 at the time.
You were still 16?
I was still
Wow.
16 because it was literally the summer that I made my debut would have been the end of May. So then I was back into that pre-season at the end of June into July. And so I was still 16, like, and I was still like you say, a child. And I literally went from making my debut, let's say 5 months previous to that, to then getting told your career could be finished. And again, it was something that was very difficult to take. And like, he went through the procedures that I could have went through. It was, I could have a metallic valve, which meant I had to be on blood thinners for the rest of my life, which meant I can't play contact sport, or else I could have a pigskin valve, which then he said you might be able to get back, like, as into some level of playing down the park with your friends and doing like normal day-to-day life. But he said playing professionally might be out of your reach for fitness-wise, because they said they had a gymnast in who was a girl, and she had the same operation as me. And he said 18 months after her operation, her valve started leaking again after the same operation. So I kind of just thought to myself, well, what's the best opportunity to give me to play football? And once he said that one would give me the best chance to give me a slight little glimmer of hope, well, then that's the only one I went for straight away, and I didn't even hesitate in making that decision.
Because
sorry, Claire, go on.
Because, like you said, in your life, you just wanted to know I can play football again. And thankfully, that operation was a success. And you did go back and you slowly got fit again. And it did work.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like, so I had the operation, I think it was around the October time of that year. And then I got back playing 8 months later. So it was like the whole like drive of football is something that really kind of took over. And being 16, not understanding the significance of the actual operation, being 16 and not really understanding what open heart surgery is, what tablets are, what it might mean for my actual health. Not understand. I just, in my mind, took it as it's an operation to get me back playing football. So it kind of went in my favor, understanding it that way. So when I actually got back playing, and when like I played my first game once I got back, like, I never looked back. And like, I'm not going to say like I didn't sit and like have little thoughts in my mind thinking this might never happen again, because at 16, like, I still had thoughts that I probably shouldn't be having. Like, I remember I was sitting in the hospital bed the night before the operation and struggling to sleep, thinking this might be the last time that I'll be awake. So I didn't want to sleep. And at 16, you're thinking to yourself, like, they're not thoughts that any 16-year-old should be having. But also, again, the drive of football inside of me was thinking, right, well, when I had this operation, this is how it's going to be. I'm going to get myself back. But I was lucky that Derby gave me the opportunity, giving me a 3.5-year deal after my debut, to give me that chance of getting back fit again, and to show that faith in me that I will get back fit, which then made me want to get back fit and play for Derby. So they kind of went hand in hand together. And I think that in itself gave me that little bit more of a drive to go, well, Derby are sticking by me. I'm going to give it everything I can. And you know what? Everybody was kind of, it was the first time for everything. The physio was never rehabbed the heart before. The fitness coaches never rehabbed the heart before. So we were all just playing guesswork, not really knowing what we were doing. We were all just taking it as, well, one day at a time. And once I kind of got myself back fit, I made the first team bench at the end of that season against Cardiff at home. So it was at those kind of moments in the last kind of 2-3 months of that season that I kind of just felt I'm back again, and I never looked back.
It kind of just occurred to me as you were talking here a few minutes ago, and this has probably been said to you before, but if you hadn't have gone to Derby, would you ever have had a scan that would have even alerted you to this? So if you had stayed in Cherry Orchard, I'm assuming they wouldn't be doing heart scans for every player all the time. Do you know what I mean? So I know it's hard at the time. Maybe now you're able to look back at it as, you know, a kind of a silver lining, but you had this heart condition that you were unaware of, that everyone else was unaware of. And if you hadn't have gone to England, you probably might not have kind of been diagnosed with it. Like, have you ever been able to kind of think of it like that, you know?
Yeah, and I think now that I've retired, I do look back at it like that. I look at it and say football saved me life. Like, that is the only way to kind of say it, is that football gave me that opportunity, that a new lease of life. Because if I didn't have football, like you say, if I didn't move to Derby, I wouldn't have had the scan. And with the way things were progressing and how things went, and I wasn't showing any like signs of symptoms through dizziness or lightheadedness or breathlessness or fatigue, I wasn't showing any of that. That it was one of them things that, yeah, like I say, I do put things very bluntly, but I would have been one of those cases you read in a newspaper that I've collapsed on a pitch. And that's how drastic it would have been. So sometimes I do look at it and I say, I am lucky in some aspects to say that football saved me life. And I like, that's why I still to this day work in football, because it means more to me than that now. Because if I never had the game, well, then we wouldn't be sitting here doing the podcast.
Yeah, like there's quite a good chance you wouldn't actually be sitting here chatting to us, which is really scary. But then also I can see why you're so grateful to football, because if it wasn't for that scan, the first one, you just wouldn't have been alerted. Like Keith said, you could have been out running in Cherry Orchard and just collapsed.
Yeah, and that's how serious it was, because like you say, sometimes these things are, you get your small symptoms, or you don't feel quite right, or as I know, since retiring and having the second open heart surgery, I know every last symptom, and I had every last symptom, so I kind of knew what I was probably missing at 16, like the lightheadedness, the feeling dizzy, waking up just feeling so tired every day. And like at 16, you don't think of these things, you don't feel these things. And again, yeah, football is something that really just saved me life. And Newport County saved me life because they stuck by me. Or else if it wasn't for Derby County. If it wasn't for Derby, Derby, I wouldn't have had a career. Derby stuck by me through like one of the toughest times in my life. That it's always a club that's going to be very close to my heart, and it's always a club that I'll always be very, very fond of, because they are a team that like stuck by me through it all and gave me that opportunity to play a career that they felt as though I could have played. And again, they actually saved me life just as much, because they were the ones who helped fund everything going towards it.
Yeah. Can I ask what year? Sorry, Claire. Can I ask
go ahead, Keith.
What year was that when you were kind of discovered? Was after the scan, wasn't it? So around, what do you know the year? Can you remember the year?
I think I had the operation in October 2009.
2009. So did Derby or anyone at the time offer you after heart surgery, like anything for your mental health or anything, any counselling or therapy? Because obviously that's like, you know, seriously traumatic event for a 16-year-old kid to go through. Well, you know, like, were you just kind of like, I know you said they didn't kind of rehabilitate a heart before, but were they able to rehabilitate your mind, you know, at that time?
Do you know what? At that time, I think it was something where it just felt as though it was brushed under the carpet, because I was back doing what I love, and I've always said that football was a massive distraction for me. So I never had time to think of anything. I had an end goal. I had a focus on, if I get back playing or when I get back playing, I'm fine. Everything else is fine. And I never really give it like that kind of time of day like I have recently, to kind of look at how I actually did feel, or the stuff that I did go through, or because football just took over. And I know I constantly say it, but it was a massive distraction for me. It was something that, because football was such a big thing in my life, and because I was back playing, everything else was fine. So I never really thought about the offset thoughts that I used to have at 16, thinking, my career could come to an end, or if I go out and train tomorrow, I could end up collapsing, or if I got a pain in my chest when I'm jogging because of the cold weather, I used to take it more serious, thinking, hang on, something's not quite right. But like you say, at 16, you shouldn't be having them thoughts, or not that I shouldn't be, but I should have spoke up about them probably a little bit more. But when I was in my career, it was like you wanted to take all the kind of emphasis off the open heart surgery and just show people I'm back playing. I'm Mark O'Brien, the footballer. I'm not somebody who has open heart surgery. I'm not someone who you need to pity or feel sorry for. Just treat me as normal. And that's how I always just took it. So I kept a lot to myself throughout my whole career of wanting to be kept normal and wanted to be treated normal. I didn't want the manager not to sign me off the back of, oh, well, he has open heart surgery. I'd rather a manager not sign me off the back of saying he's not good enough. And I'd rather be on the same level as every last player. Now, physically, I'd say on a day-to-day running basis, if you'd asked me to run around the track and do 10 laps, I'd finish last every time. 100% I'd finish last every time. But I was able to train and I was able to play 90 minutes of a game. And that's all that I cared about. So, as you say, it was something where it's not that Derby never offered it. I never seeked it and I never really spoke up about it. They just went off how I was feeling. And I used to just tell them I'm fine. So, even though I was having those thoughts, it was just something that I just kind of, as you say, brushed under the carpet and got on with.
And between Mark, Derby and the first operation and you getting to Newport, there was kind of a tumultuous couple of years, wasn't it? It was tricky for you.
Yeah, it was quite difficult because even when I got back playing at Derby, like I had my fair share of injuries and I had like a cruciate ligament injury. I've had other injuries to go along with that, which are like kind of long-winded injuries where they could be career-threatening injuries. But in my mind, the open heart surgery was a blessing in disguise that I always felt if I can get back from that, I can get back from anything. So even though I'd done certain injuries, it never really stopped me because I thought, well, yeah, I got back from open heart surgery. This will be nothing. Like everything just felt a bit more relaxed, which, as you say, that's the silver lining and everything that I went through. It kind of made me like more determined that nothing was going to stop me until that time came where if the valve leaked again or whatever or whenever it might have been, nothing was going to stop me. And there was a couple of like up and down moments where when I went to Scotland, it went okay. I could have went a lot better, but it actually did go okay. Met some new teammates, new friends, like at a new club and different things, and absolutely loved it, but didn't quite work out. But I had quite a difficult time at Luton. That was the time that I actually seen the harsh realities of football. So like this was take injuries away and take open heart surgery away. I was actually seeing the real realities of football and how it can really treat you badly. And that was a time where I probably struggled mentally so much more than at 16 at open heart surgery ever gave me, because I was 24 at the time. I'm training with 16 to 18-year-olds every day. The manager doesn't want me. He took me squad number away from me. He told me I was transfer listed. And he just, as I said, I just got completely disregarded and I was training by myself most days. And it was something where that was the first kind of sense of thinking football is a really ruthless sport, because I had a lot of support and I had a lot of love at Derby and the support that I got given through most of my time, or through all of my time there. And that was something where you don't think football, it can be that bad. And you've heard stories of people who have struggled in football because managers don't play them and you're not allowed to do this. And it was the first time I experienced that. And as I said, that was probably my closest time to thinking I just want to give up on football. And that was my closest time in thinking like I'm actually been defeated. But again, my whole career always stemmed back to the open heart surgery of thinking, well, if I was able to get back from that, I'm not going to let a manager defeat me. This is just one person's opinion over thousands of opinions that are in football. And I have to kind of view it that way and just kind of not give up. But those times in between Derby and Newport were some really great times and met some really great people, but probably some of the most difficult times I've ever had in football.
Yeah, I think you kind of touched on it there yourself. I was like, the time between kind of Derby and Newport were obviously, very kind of difficult times, but you're obviously a very resilient guy. But obviously as well, I think the fact that you bottled things up for so long obviously didn't help when you got to Luton. because maybe like do you think it might have been like a stigma as well? You know, like because I'm always talking about men's mental health and stuff like that, and the stigma. And do you think that's especially in sport, especially in football? Do you think that probably was another reason why you bottled things up, and then basically when you got to Luton, you know, because you know everything was kind of like was bottled up inside you for so long, you didn't really know how to cope with things and how to deal with things. Obviously, you kind of did afterwards, but at the time, I mean, you're still only 24 at that stage, to be honest. I mean, some people, as we know, like we know, they can get to a lot later than that, and that's when you eventually kind of understand yourself a bit better. But at 24, you're still very, very young.
Yeah, and I think, like you say, you might have just already said it, is that like I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to. I just took it as, oh well, then I'm just one of these footballers that's getting dealt the wrong set of cards, and like I didn't voice anything. I just kind of got on with it. And I think, like you say, that stigma in football at the time is that kind of thing. Just get on with it. Like, it's the easy thing to do. Like, don't kick up a fuss. Don't start saying anything's right or wrong. Just get on with it, and things will turn. Things will change. And
yeah,
my career was already on a time scale, because once I had the first open heart surgery, every single season I had a heart scan at the end of every single year, and at the end of when I would have that heart scan, it would basically tell me if I was allowed to play the next season. So when I was having difficult times in between, it kind of affected me that little bit more, because I knew I did, like, whatever stage I was at in my career, I always knew, right, at the end of this season, I'm having a scan, and this might tell me that I'm done. And do I want to look back on and finish on a season that I wasn't playing? I was training with a bunch of kids. Things weren't going quite right. So it gave me the fight not to give up, like, because I knew I was on that time scale. But it also scared me to think, right, well, if my career finishes at Luton right now, what have I actually done? Like, why have I stopped myself from just saying, like, call it a day, go home, see my family, and all these different things? But I just always had this little bit of me inside me that just never let me stop. And again, that's why I always say that 16 and that open heart surgery, like, definitely gave me that kind of motivation, and definitely gave me that kind of mold of that resilience to kind of say, well, look, at nothing is going to stop me. Like, from your opinion to that injury to this, anything that you can throw at me in football, unless my heart tells me at some stage I can't play anymore, that's the only time I'll accept it. Until then, there's not going to be anything you can do to try and stop me. And that's why, like, I try and say that I use all, like, kind of my down times through injuries and different things, that every injury or everything that I had was always seen as a positive, to kind of say, okay, now that I've had open heart surgery and a cruciate ligament, if I can get back from those two, that next one is going to be easier, and that next one will be easier. So even though they were all, like, terrible things to go through and really hard things to go through, I always just spun it in a little bit to kind of say, do you know what, this time and next time and next time, if I made it back from all of them, this manager won't stop me, and I'm fit, well and healthy, and I'll just wait on the opportunity to come somewhere. So I'm not going to give in. And luckily enough, it kind of went in my favor.
Because there were so many, like, there's so many challenging times, but I think it's really important we celebrate, like, the really happy times, like, in this interview as well. And I know, is it May the 6th in Newport is still known as National Mark O'Brien Day. Do you want to talk to us about that day? Because I know that was a huge moment in your career.
Yeah, like, you said it, like, May 6th is something that Newport County do call Mark O'Brien Day, because when I came in that January, is because like, Newport were, like, obviously struggling in the relegation zone for most of that season.
Badly,
and it was around January when I came in, and then the March, April time is when things started kind of heating up that a little bit more, because I think we had 12 games to go. We were 11 points from safety, and it was kind of like, mathematically we weren't down, but technically on everybody's mind and everybody's list, Newport are already relegated. So every game just kind of ticked along, that one after the next, and we were just picking up results, and we were just keep on fighting. And that's why I always think Newport suited me as a club, because it was a club full of fighters, and that's all we were. And it kind of allowed me to be that fighter I've been for most of my career. So I was able to kind of be myself that little bit more. And I ended up, we got it down to the last day of the season. And the last day of the season, we played Notts County at home, and we were 2 points ahead of them. But if Notts County had won, and we lost, Notts County stay up, we get relegated. If we match their score, we stay up on points difference. Like, there was so much like one of those end of season dramas that you normally can watch on soccer Saturdays and different things. And I remember like going into that game, and it was a late kickoff, and it just felt like my whole season, really, it felt as though my whole career is on this one game. Like, I can't, and we've worked so hard for the 6 months I've been in Newport. I can't just finish on this one day. Like, we can't fall short on the last day. So it was literally like a cup final. And then we went out into the game, and we were 1-0 up, and Mickey Demetriou scores, and we were 1-0 up, and everything is going like as smooth as you want it to be. Hartlepool are losing, and we're hearing that they're losing. So already Newport are staying up. It's perfect. Then Notts County ended up scoring, where if people do watch it back, it was like an assist from me, which didn't go down too well. But the game went back to 1 each. But we still knew Hartlepool were losing, so it never really made a difference to us. And then I think it was around the 80th minute, we heard Hartlepool have scored 2 goals. So we're thinking to ourselves, as it stands right now, we're relegated. We're drawn. Hartlepool are winning. We're relegated. So it got to the 87th minute, and I just shouted over, "Let me go up front," just to kind of be a nuisance and maybe make some space for somebody else. And the ball came into the box, and again, it just landed to me, and it hit me chest, and I volleyed it into the bottom corner and ran off celebrating. And it was my first ever like EFL goal. It was literally like the whole place just went and erupted, and we won the game 2-1. And that goal is technically why Newport say that May the 6th is Mark O'Brien Day, because they always tell me that I saved the club.
That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
I've got to say, I got a twofold question for you, right? So, first part of it, you don't have to answer this, because you might not want to. But what team did you support when you were growing up, in England? And the second part of that is, obviously your story itself, and we'll get to that as well, because you have a book and stuff like that, and we'll get to kind of how you're inspiring people. But was there anyone when you were growing up, especially when you were going through all of your kind of heart problems, was there anyone that inspired you in sport, or not even in sport, just even in your day-to-day life?
Who was that special person? Yeah.
Yeah, like I like growing up, I was a Manchester United fan.
No, that's okay.
It was
me too.
It was my dad, my brother, and everything. Like they were big into Manchester United, and as I say, like, you just kind of pick it up off what they support in the house. So I was a massive Man United fan, and I always look at it. I think Roy Keane was someone that you watch all the Ireland games and different things, and he's a Man United captain, and he's an Ireland captain, and he was just someone that I always looked at, and I thought to myself, like, how he is as a player, the aggression and everything that he shows, and again, the kind of doesn't take any rubbish from nobody kind of stance that he takes, and how he was on a pitch. It was just someone that, like, I just looked at and thought, like, that's something that, like, I'd love to be. I'd love to, because I always felt as though when I was a player, I was someone that probably wasn't your tallest of centre backs, wasn't like your 6'5" centre back, but I had like enough aggression and enough kind of put my head in where people won't put their feet kind of mentality, that he was just someone that I kind of looked at and thought he has that same kind of mentality that nothing gets in his way. And I think with everything I was going through, footballing wise, I think the more that I kind of grew up, and the more that I was still obviously looking at Manchester United, and Nemanja Vidic was someone that I think for me was a massive kind of learning curve in watching people how they play. It's even the same with me dad. Used to always tell me growing up, watch videos of Paul McGrath, and that was something where my dad used to say, like, look, he's a centre back, knows his position, covers, reads the game well, all these different things. He said, if you read the game well, he said, you'll do less running in a game. He said, you'll already be standing there waiting. So he's
not that tall either.
Exactly, and my dad used to always try and be kind of an advocate for that, because it was something where, because of people used to always say, and they said it to me dad, and they said it to me, like, you're not tall enough to be a centre back. You're not tall enough to be a centre back. And I used to get told that a lot, but in my mind, it never bothered me. And like I say, I played all my career at centre back. But I just think, like, even growing up, like, just my family, my ma, everybody, everyone like that was just someone that like I could see how much they like put into me and my brother growing up, and I could see how much that they backed me through everything. Like they never kind of stood in my way for a single thing. That I know it sounds very kind of cliche, and I don't have this kind of special person that I've looked up to that I idolize from, but my family were just people that honestly like they put up with a lot with me. Obviously, with no fault of my own going through like the surgeries that I've gone through, but they backed me. They never once told me, Mark, they never put doubt in my mind that I'll never play. They kind of always were there to kind of say, well, if that's what you want to do, we'll back you for that. If that's how you want to be, you go do that. Like it was never, I'm having open heart surgery, Mark, you need to stop. I'm taking out football and you're not doing it again. It was, they allowed me just kind of make my decisions, and they were just there the whole way. So when I need them at the end of a phone, or my ma or dad to get a flight over to see me and I needed them there and then, they'd literally jump straight on. And as I say, they were unbelievable for me.
Brilliant.
And then fast forward, Mark, you're at Newport and you have to go into hospital again for the second surgery. And I know that was really, it was a momentous time in your life. And just in the book, how you talk about your mum coming over and your girlfriend at the time, and like I can't, it's hard for people to get their head around what that's like, particularly for someone so young, because you just kind of felt dizzy, didn't you, when you were sick one day and you were taken in and they said, listen, this is too serious.
Yeah, and it was during COVID. It was when COVID just first started in 2020, and I was obviously doing some like home workouts and going out cycling and all these different things, because football came to an end, came to a stop, and you just had to keep yourself fit through any kind of way possible. And I remember there was one evening I was just sitting on my sofa and I just got this like massive thump in my chest, and I didn't know what it was, didn't know anything about it, but I just kind of, it scared me. It felt like something I never had before. Like I just really, like it scared me, like one of those feelings. And I thought I'd sleep it off, everything would be fine. Next day I had the same thump. So I remember it was happening for a little while, but because I didn't really know what was going on, I spoke with our club doctor and he was telling me it could be something called an ectopic B. People develop it, it can happen. Like it's probably nothing to worry about. But look, if it happens again, let me know. So later on that night, I'm laying in bed and I'm laying on my left hand side, and I can't, it just keeps catching me breath for some reason. I can't. And again, I found the doctor the next day and I'm like, look, there's something not quite right. And like I was exercising but feeling more tired. I was sitting on the sofa, I was feeling dizzy. I'd stand up and I'd start feeling like I can't walk up a flight of stairs. And I'm thinking, I was getting more frustrated than I was anything else, because I was thinking, well, if football starts back next week, I'm not fit. And I don't know why I'm not fit. I'm training every day. I don't know what's wrong with me. And I was really getting probably more frustrated and not really thinking, oh, it has to be my heart, because I was so long into my career of every single year getting told my heart's okay. Not once did it come into my mind there's something wrong with my heart. So I think when I spoke with the doctor and he said to me, like, look, I'll get you a scan, because obviously at the time hospitals were packed.
Yeah.
So he told me he'd get me a scan, and then he ended up getting me a scan, and I ended up going in and I had it. And I remember, again, it's like another moment that has happened that I'll always remember. He came in, he sat down in front of me, just me and him in the office, and he goes, Mark, look at your valve is leaking. And like I remember words in detail for like moments like this where he just goes, Mark, and it's leaking quite badly. You're going to need this sooner rather than later. And when you hear somebody say that to you, you kind of straight away go into panic mode. But I just it kind of went in one ear out the other, and all I just had in my head was, I need to retire. And I just broke into tears. I was sitting there in his office breaking into tears, and he goes, no, there's tissue valves that are new operations you can, like, you potentially can carry on. But I always made that promise to myself at 16, and I've always said it to my family that I'm going to have one operation for my career and one operation for the rest of my life. I'm not going to do it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times just for the sake of football. Football means a lot to me, and yes, I want to give it the best that I can and not look back in any regrets. But this time around, I was like, no, this is for the rest of my life. But I don't think I was ever prepared for the actual decision to be made, because I was so kind of in a trend and a routine of getting told everything's okay. So this one time I get told it's not okay, I actually like just broke, and it literally broke me. And because there was so much going on at that time in 2020, like it was COVID, it was me having to retire, and I needed open heart surgery, all in the space of like what was going on in the world. And it was something that I actually really did struggle with. And I remember I got onto the phone to my ma once I came out of the doctor's office. My ma just was like, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Look at me, my valve is leaking against your head." Right, say no more. She jumped on a flight and she was there the next morning. And and it was something that I don't think it ever really settled into my mind, that I needed open heart surgery. I was just more focused on the fact that I needed to retire again. But then as time was like slowly ticking away from that, it was kind of, I was just going along with, right, I need open heart surgery, right, I am retiring, right, let's kind of like just go with it, and let's just see where it takes me. And as time was going on, I started to develop panic attacks, and I've never ever had one of them. I remember I was sitting in my living room, my ma was there, and my ex-girlfriend was there, and out of nowhere we were sitting there watching telly, and my head just went dizzy. I couldn't really focus on the telly. I was getting dizzy. My heart rate was through the roof, and obviously my heart rate through the roof with a leaking valve. I was just thinking, like, I'm in the worst case scenario. And I still remember to this day, and I haven't really spoken about it that much, is that I'm sitting like on the sofa with my mum, and I remember my ma just takes my hands and like she put her head down, and she just asked, like, and all I can just remember her saying, "Everything's gonna be okay. You're gonna be all right." And I just kept sitting there, and I just couldn't stop crying. And because I was thinking, this can't be the end. And that's how I was feeling. And it was something that really, really scared me. And it was getting to the stage where I got an appointment back at Glenfield where I had the first operation. And once I went back there, they kind of seen the state I was in, whereas they could see I was anxious beyond belief. They could see I was worrying about everything. They could see that I wasn't looking well. And I ended up going into the Glenfield hospital, and even in there, I was taking turns for the worst, where they thought I had an infection in my valve. And that was, I think that was 2 weeks while I was still in hospital. One night, and it was 2 days meant to be before my operation, and I was sitting there, and I remember it was like late at night, and I buzzed the doctor in saying I don't feel well. I ended up like getting sick. I ended up like just going into so many sweats. I ended up like just feeling a mess. And then they done like blood tests, and they done urine tests and all these different things. And they told me that I potentially have an infection in my valve, which they also told me isn't a really good thing to be having right now, because your valve is leaking and it's not quite in the best shape to be dealing with an infection. So I was just sitting in the hospital bed, and I was literally just hoping and praying and just thinking, like, look, just let me have the operation sooner rather than later now. And I think that's where my mindset started turning, where as I was afraid of the operation, I started to look at it and think, I actually can't wait to have this. I need to have it. I want to be on that road to recovery. I don't want to be sitting waiting, because I don't know how long I have to wait. And it was the night before the operation, the doctor came around, because they said they couldn't operate on me if I had an infection. So the doctor came around, and he stood next to me bed and goes, "Mark, like, look," he said, "the valve right now," he said, "is literally hanging on by such a thread." And he said, "If you don't get this operation done now," he said, "that if your valve breaks off for whatever reason through the night because it's hanging on so thin," he said, "if that circulates and gets lodged in your brain," he said, "you're going to die." So I got moved onto the main ward, and I'm sitting on the main ward, and I'm hooked up to all these machines, and I'm literally laying there thinking, like, this could be the end. Like, if I have no control over this, like the valve, I can't like put my hand on the valve and try and stop it from breaking off. Like, this is something where I just try and have to pray and hope for the best. And when he came in that next morning and told me there was no infection, that he could do the operation, like, I turned into like this mess again and just started crying. Like, it's such a surreal thing that there was so much emotion to it, where I thought, again, you're this macho footballer and you're this big person, and I'm a captain of Newport and I've done all these things, that every 2 seconds that somebody either tells me bad news or good news, all I do is burst into tears. and all I do was worry about anything and everything. And it was just something where it put a lot into perspective for me, that it made me realize that, you know what, through all of these different things, that actually having this operation and actually seeing it as something that needs to happen, it made me so happy to hear that I was getting open heart surgery. Like, one minute you're getting told you need it and you're terrified, then I'm getting told I'm having it and I'm ecstatic. And like, literally, it's the change of perspective that it gave me. But again, it was quite
a
a
roller
difficult
coaster of emotions.
It literally was like a roller coaster. And again, like you say, once I knew I was having the operation again, it's like my body started feeling relaxed all over again, going, right, now you're getting looked after, and that's all I cared about.
Where do you even start with that? It's like no wonder you're having panic attacks. But it's the unknown as well, and it's the not known, and then it's like your career over, and then it's like, Jesus, like, you know, you could die in the middle of the night, and then it's COVID, and then like you're probably thinking, or maybe you weren't thinking, like, you're going to be in the hospital for probably a good while after this, and if it's COVID, nobody can visit you, and then your mind starts going as well, and then as you said, you know, you feel like you have to, you know, you're a macho footballer, you have to have this image or look or be strong or whatever you want to call it. Like, no wonder you're having panic attacks. I mean, how do you even process all of that in space of what, like a short space of time? I mean, Christ.
Yeah, like that, but that's the thing. But I never experienced a panic attack before, so I never knew what it was. And in my mind, like, I'm thinking, like, I don't know how to control it, and that was probably frustrating me even more, because, like, as you say, like, going through all them different things, you don't realize that your body and mind carries things that you don't even realize you're carrying. And
so true.
There's all these different things that were going on, that they were all just coming to the forefront. The more I got told good news, then I'd break into emotion, not realizing that I was holding on to the hope that somebody needed to save me life. When I get told bad news, I'm thinking, right, I can handle this. Like, I can take it on my own shoulders. I'm totally fine. So, like, there's all these different things that were going on at that time, and trying to process it all is something that's the realization I came to, that I do need to start like ciphering through it and sieving through it all to kind of know what means what, and what do I need to, like, break down bit by bit by bit. I was just trying to deal with it all in one big bundle and one big package, and say, right, once that's dealt with, put that to one side and I'll just move on. But this time around at 27, like, when I had the operation, it was probably the best reaction to all the worst case scenarios that I've ever had, because it's put me in such a much better position than I probably ever thought I'd ever be in, because I'm glad I experienced all those emotions and feelings and ups and downs, and I'm glad I had to go through them all, because it's gave me a much greater understanding of life. It's gave me a much greater understanding of myself and of other people, where I feel more relaxed about life situations, about anything that could happen in your life that you might think is a inconvenience, or you might think isn't quite right. Like, I look at the bigger picture now to go, well, look, I always draw it back to my career and go, oh yeah, look, I can be devastated that I retired. I can be devastated that I don't play anymore. But you know what? I'm actually lucky that I'm still here to watch it. I'm actually lucky that I'm still here to be part of it. So I look at it in that aspect. It's the same of going, well, when I look back at a career and go, well, it was 10, 11 years. Well, Mark, you could still be playing now. Does that not annoy you? When I go, yeah, but I got 10 years longer than a doctor gave me at 16 and told me I'll probably never play again. So, like, I start to understand that your perspectives start changing. And once all that started to kind of come together, I had to go through, like, so many amounts of counsel. Like, I had to go through weeks upon weeks of it, because when I was in the hospital, like, I had to spend 4 weeks in hospital by myself. Like, family were to FaceTime away. Like, I'm on my phone to me ma, but she's not sitting by the side of my bed. I'm going out for walks on the ward, and I can't have some company there. Like, everything was by myself. So I think I became over hospitalized, because everything to feel safe was at the click of a button. If I needed a doctor to come running to me, I just click a button and they're in by the side of my bed, and I felt safe again. And I think that's what kind of hindered me in the long run when I came out of hospital, because it made me feel probably more unsafe than I've ever felt before. Like, I was probably so unsafe playing football every single year. I was so unsafe going out playing a 90-minute match every single, but it was the safest I ever felt. And
Mad.
You know, Mark, I was
now
just thinking, sorry, it's a lack of control, isn't it? Like for your whole career, you're like the manager has your destiny in his hands, the doctors, the medics at the clubs, you know, and now you probably feel like you have a lot more control of things, so which probably helps calm you down, you know, helps you feel a bit more safe, does it?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, so I think I got so much comfort out of people controlling my life. Like when you're a footballer, you get told where to be, you get regimented, you get told where to be, what to do, how to eat, when to sleep, when not to sleep, like all of these things you get told. And then I come away from it, and then it's like a whole new world to say, right, Mark, now it's you make up your choices of when you want to train, when you want to do things. And I just could never get to grips with not having that distraction anymore, like coming up with different things to go, right, so what do I do here, and how do I do this, and right, if I want to go to sleep late but I don't have to get up for training, like all of these different things that seem so simple all became very, very difficult to me. And I do look at it in a way of going, like, I'm so much more relaxed in my perspectives to say, right, I focus on what I can control. And if I can control being grateful getting up in the morning, because it's something that was never guaranteed to me, if I can control what I do and how I do it, that's in my control. But sometimes what got me kind of so mixed up and caught up was because my valve is so loud now and you can hear it ticking all the time and you can feel it beating all the time. It is something that is very, very difficult to get used to. Even still to this day, like I'll still sit there sometimes and I'll have to sit with my hand on my chest and I'm thinking, I hope this is still working. And that comes down to a doctor trying to have a joke and a laugh with me at a time that I probably wasn't at my most funniest times, because he stood next to me bed and said, Mark, have you heard your valve clicking? And I said, no, because I thought it was the clock behind my bed. And he goes, no, it's your valve.
Oh, God.
So at that time when I said, he goes, no, that's your valve. So then he walked away and goes, but Mark, look at it this way. It's the moment you don't hear it, you need to worry. So like I kind of
true,
oh my God.
Yeah, so I kind of looked at it, and as much as it's funny to kind of look back on, at that time, all I ever wanted to do was listen for it, because it's the moments that I didn't hear it, I thought it's not working. But my head couldn't get me. I couldn't get my head around the fact of thinking, right, how am I thinking? And I'm awake thinking my heart has just stopped, but I'm awake thinking it. Like, just things weren't adding up. And the more, like you say, the more I kind of had to cipher through everything. And I went from, okay, I'm going to deal with the retirement. And then dealing with the retirement, I've kind of done that. Now I'm going to deal with the open heart surgery and give it the kind of attention that it needs. Whereas I just took it as, well, I had one at 16, I've had one now, it is what it is. Like, and that's where the counsellor kind of came in and brought it down to a bit more of a human level to say to me, Mark, like, you're treating it like you've just gone in to have your tooth out. Like, this isn't a normal procedure. Like, you have to allow it, or allow yourself to feel the fact of going, this is a big operation and it's changed your life.
Good point. And
the fact that I've kind of done that, then again, it makes me feel more relaxed about it. And then all of a sudden, like, as I said, like, I had a girlfriend at the time. We were going through difficult times, and that was something that was difficult, because I had all of this at once, and you're kind of trying to pick through it all and not understand, like, why is that not working, and why is this one falling apart, but why is this like, and there was just so much more understanding of myself that I never had. And the more that I actually just kind of had that acceptance of everything, like, and I seeked out, like, a lot of people, and people reached out to me and they helped me massively to kind of think, well, Mark, look, you can sit and try and fight and beat Mark O'Brien, the footballer, as much as you want. You're going to have to come to some terms with yourself and realize that's not you anymore. Like, you're not Mark the footballer, but it's not the job that made you Mark the footballer. It was you that made your job successful. So that's you as a person. Whereas you, like, in my mind, I'm looking at it thinking it was football that made me feel stronger, powerful, that made me feel like I'm a leader, made me feel all these things. And I start to realize now that, you know what, though, that's actually just me. So now I just have to put my focus and energy into something that I feel is going to help and give me that new purpose again, that, you know what, maybe going forward now, that maybe helping others and releasing the book and speaking out so freely and openly about all the struggles I've had, as well as the good times, because again, I'm not someone that I'm just going to speak about all the bad times, because I've had some really good times of football and some amazing memories. But if I can be that someone that can bring comfort to somebody else who's not so brave in speaking and may not want to say a single word, but something can resonate with them and make them feel that little bit better, then I'm all open for that, and it gives me that new purpose again to what football gave me.
Yeah.
Because one of the questions we ask on this podcast, Mark, but I think you've just covered it there really well, is to talk to us about a time when you didn't feel special, like, and I suppose going through all that, what you've described to us there, I think, is you've been, not that you needed to be humbled, but what you're saying is that you understand things so much more, and like, even if you are not playing football professionally, you are in such a good space. Is that fair to say? Like, you've just kind of, you're saying that it's given you a great perspective.
Yeah, like I think that going through what I've gone through has probably made me a better person than I ever thought I could be.
Wow.
Like it has made me more relaxed about life. Or again, like I say, the situations that I find myself in your day-to-day life, where you could get frustrated or screwed up about something, and you think, well, in the bigger picture, does it really matter? Like, what are the things that matter? And the fact of, as I said, I used to be the person that would get really annoyed at myself that I'd get up in the morning, I'd go out, I'd go at the training ground, but I never trained. And this was like, I'd say 8 weeks after my operation. This is like so soon before, after the operation, and I was getting annoyed at myself that I wasn't exercising. Whereas now I'm at the end of going, well, exercising for today, do you know what? If I didn't really feel it, or it's not that much of an issue, don't get annoyed at yourself about it. Like, do you know what? You can always go again, or you can always move on again. Like, it's the fact of going, well, at least I woke up in the morning. At least I got out of bed. At least I made it to the training ground. At least I was outside for a little while. Like, actually take the smaller wins that make the bigger wins feel even better. And it's the more that I felt more relaxed about all of them side of things, that just, like I said, it's made me a more understanding person to so many more people. It's made me kind of understand where if somebody goes through something, and again, like I say, it doesn't have to be the fact of saying they've gone through open heart surgery, so that's the only way I'm able to communicate with someone. It's the fact of saying you can go literally through anything in your life, because it's what my kind of down or darkest moment was, open heart surgery, and what doctors told me. Somebody else's darkest moment doesn't have to be open heart surgery, but I guarantee we both felt the same things. So why should somebody not feel comfortable enough to speak to me about it, just because they might feel as though, as people say nowadays, your situation is worse than mine, so I don't know why I can't speak to you about it, because your situation is open heart surgery. I only just lost something like a family heirloom, and I've done this and I've done that. But if that's something that has made you feel that way, well, then you have every right, just as much as myself, to open up and speak about it. So then that's why I just take it on my hands now to say, that's my kind of new purpose, that I enjoy trying to help, and I enjoy trying to be that voice for someone who isn't going to be or feel as brave to do so.
Yeah, brilliant. I was going to ask you a question. You nearly covered it there. It's absolutely like, because they kind of say, don't they, like, it takes to go through adversity to kind of put your life in perspective. And as you said, and you're absolutely dead right, it doesn't really matter what the adversity is. It's how it impacts you, and it's the feelings and emotions you have to deal with, which are what you can kind of connect with other people with. So I gonna fair play to you for saying that, and it's a great point as well, because I think a lot of people forget that as well. So like, that's absolutely brilliant. But we've mentioned the book a few times, so we might as well just
time to
there we
reveal.
Go. The big reveal.
The big reveal.
So it's called
there.
A Game of Two Hearts, but I think it's a brilliant. It's a brilliant.
It's a great.
Kind of yeah. It's really
looking
good.
Sharp on the cover, Mark.
Yeah.
Mark,
I want to ask you. I want to ask you about writing, just even in writing in general, right? So how did you feel writing that book? It was a very kind of cathartic and therapeutic for you to kind of, because I do a bit of blogging myself, so I know when you start writing, everything just starts flowing out, and all of a sudden it's like, you're reliving things. How did you feel actually doing the book?
Do you know what? I enjoyed it. I struggled with it. I was scared. Like, everything. Like, it was, everything came out, because it's like, like when I was going over with the person that was helping me, you're going over fixtures from years and years ago, and you're loving the moments, and you're remembering, I remember this game and what the manager said, and I remember this, remember that. I remember when I went and done this. And like you say, you kind of look back at things that like you've forgotten about, and it's mad to say, like, you've forgotten certain games that you played in, because everything's been so hectic when you move around so much. But there was times where, like, I felt it was difficult again, speaking about the open heart surgery, and as comfortable as I always say I might be speaking about, it still is something I find hard to do, because it does make you feel like the more I speak about it, the more I'm reliving it, and the more I relive it, the more it comes back into my mind. And then when it comes back into your mind, right, how do you shift it again? So like it's like that kind of it was quite difficult, and like the things that doctors said to me, or as you say, the injuries that I had, like they were difficult times to talk about, or me time at Luton where like I felt down and out, and I'm living in hotels, paying out my own money, and Luton not caring for me, and all these things that you're speaking about that are subjects that, you know, like you say, people go through.
That's a huge part of the book. Sorry to put across you, Mark, but I just think it's so important when you mention it again in this interview. Is about like people just, once they hear professional footballer, they just think glam, perfect lifestyle. Like when I was reading that chapter in this book, I was teary for you, particularly with Luton. It was like, it sounded hell. Like it just did not sound nice. Sorry, I just thought I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, no, like, and the thing is, it was like it was something where, like you say, people think a footballer is somebody that earns thousands and thousands a week, and they live the best life, and it's the greatest lifestyle. And don't get me wrong, it's a great opportunity, and it has that potential to give you that lifestyle, but it doesn't mean everybody gets to live that way. And when you're at a place, and it's people at the time like myself that was going through it, and there's thousands of more that go through it, that they don't get spoken about. Nobody hears about it because they don't be brave enough or open enough to speak about it. Like, and when they do, it falls on deaf ears because people straight away down talk and saying, "You're a professional footballer. What are you moaning for?"
What are you talking about? Yeah, what are you moaning for?
And sometimes you're kind of thinking, well, look at, if you in your job get moved to one side and you don't have anywhere to live, and you struggle with money and all these different things, how would you feel? And that's exactly how footballer feels. It's literally a job, and that's what I think people lose the human aspect just because you're a footballer. And I think we're just as human as anybody else. Yes, we have a great opportunity to make a great life for ourselves, and you're a role model to, like, and you're in the public eye, but you have exactly the same emotions as everybody else. And as I said, that time at Luton was probably one of the worst times that I had in football, to think that could actually happen to someone, and living in a hotel out of my suitcase for weeks upon weeks, and going into training in a training ground by myself, having to try and just motivate myself every single day. Again, I'm glad that I can have it out there in the book for people to all read, because it is something that I think people need to understand a little bit more, that football isn't as glamorous as what people think it can be.
And what is life like for Mark O'Brien now? I know you've got a whole new things going on. You've got public speaking, and I know you have a really cool role in Newport, which you sound perfect for as well.
Yeah, so like my life now, again, like I still have the old ups and downs. Like, that's something that I don't think I'll ever shake, but I'm okay with that. Like, I'm a player care officer at Newport, where I can get to be there for the players, like on their mental side of stuff. So in situations like I would have went through in football, I can kind of pass on to somebody and not let them feel that low, or not let them feel that kind of way, whether they're playing, whether they're not, if they're not in favour, all these different things, that I can be that kind of point of contact for them to kind of just sit there and speak and keep their spirits up, to make them at least feel somebody cares. Because that feeling of somebody caring for you in a football club can just be that small difference to why you don't give up, to why you just keep going for that one person. And that could kickstart something for that career to just go again, and to try and be somebody like that. As I say, it's something I feel as though was kind of made for me to an extent. And like, going out to do talks in front of schools, going out to do talks in front of college students, uni students, and even businesses, if they were to have me, and different things, just to kind of speak on the side of adversity, to show what not giving up kind of looks like, to show what having that kind of little bit of steeliness about yourself, and using your down times as a positive rather than a negative, and viewing things as a strength rather than a weakness, is something that I really like do enjoy speaking about. And having commentary, doing co-commentary for BBC, like, and then also releasing a book, like, there are like a lot of things going on, which is great, and the things that I never thought I'd ever do, because like you say, when your whole life is so surrounded by football and so consumed by football, and that's your life, you come away from it thinking my life is over. And now I only realised that from the age of 27, I've just had a head start at a whole new lease of life. And I look at it now as that I've had a really good head start. And now I'm just kind of going along with it, where I think we all fall victims of, if you're looking for like the next kind of perfect thing in your life, you want it by tomorrow. You don't want to kind of have to go through the process of every day might be challenging or every day might be different, but let's just kind of keep going with it and believe that at some point it will turn around. Whereas I was the same when I had the operation 27. By 28, I was thinking, right, I want to be back fit again. I want this, without actually giving myself that bit of kind of reality check to say, look, it's 3 years later and I am where I'm at now. But 2 years ago, I would have never thought this. A year ago, I never would have thought this. And it was just the fact of not giving up and going back to my career of saying, just keep going. And the fact of just keeping going. And in between all of these things that I have been doing, I've had weeks and months where I've not spoken to anybody. I've not done a single thing. I've just kind of kept myself to myself because I had to take that time for myself. But I know when to kind of pull myself back and to jump straight in. But I'll be more vocal about things even when I do have to pull back, because I'm thinking, well, it's just normal day-to-day behavior, just that everyone else goes through.
Yeah, I do know. It's just even that little bit there at the end, it's nice just to end the podcast. We have a few like kind of fun questions just to go through it, and if you don't like them, you can blame Claire. But
don't blame me, Mark. Go for it.
But yeah, but before I start firing the questions at you, I just want to go back to that little point you just said there, and then we wrap this up, because I think that's quite important as well. Is that you mentioned about kind of taking time for yourself and knowing when to pull back on things and knowing when to kind of to recharge yourself. And I think that is so important to do and to say. And also, and I know I'm yapping on here and we'll go through the questions now, but I also just wanted to make another point, is that I think it's amazing that there's another man out there talking about this stuff, because as Claire will tell you, and she's probably sick of me going on about this now, but I do an awful lot for trying to advocate for men's mental health and for more men to talk. And I think you just doing this, especially coming from a professional sports side, I think is incredible. So I just want to say thank you so much for actually, and I'm not going to use the word brave because I hate that word. So just in case you thought I was going, I'm not going to call you that because I hate when I'm called that. So for me anyway, I just want to say well done. And we'll get to the quick fire questions
the fun
now.
Part.
The fun part. I'm just looking at the first question here, Claire.
I know Mark's going to love this. I know he's good crack. He's good crack.
I hope so. Death row meal.
I would say a death row meal would be, to start with, I don't even know if I'd have a starter. I'd go straight for a spice box in
I love it.
Like literally where I am, there's like an unbelievable Chinese around the corner from me, and every time I go home, they know I'm home because I order there twice a night. And straight away, like I would have that, like I'd have like a massive big spice box meal, big tubs of curry sauce, and just keep digging away at it, and then just as much ice cream after that as I can.
Yeah. And listen to your heart valve, take it up in the back. Will I call the next one out, Claire, or do you want to do it?
Okay, I'll give you the next one. So, Mark, go to karaoke song.
Go to karaoke, I would say. I have one or two. One is Frank Sinatra, "Fly Me to the Moon," and then I've had another one where it was a country song. It was like Josh Turner, called "Your Man." I've sang that because like it's someone that I sang it before, and someone goes, "You're really good at that." And I thought, all right, I'll give it a go. And then that, but I like kind of a Frank Sinatra kind of song, whether it's "That's Life" or "Fly Me to the Moon."
Yeah, good choices, actually, good choices. A third one here is, I don't know if you have a pet, but if you have a pet and they could talk, what would they say about you?
He doesn't feed me. No,
I knew you were going to say that. That's what I would have said.
It's literally, if I had a pet, the pet would probably say he's probably the most caring person I've ever known.
Oh, that's lovely. And that's true. That is true. Okay, we'll move on. What store would you like to max out a credit card at?
I'd say Zara. I love Zara. Like whether you go in there, they have like all from plain t-shirts, jeans, tracksuits, the lot. I'd max out a card in there any day of the week.
Yeah, Yeah, they have nice stuff in there actually. Last one, you'd be delighted to know if you're. Am I doing this one or are you doing it?
You go for it,
Who
Keith.
called
Go
out
for
for
it.
this one? I've lost track of this already. If you're an alcoholic drink, what would it be? No, sorry. If you're an alcoholic drink, what would you be and why?
Oh, I don't know many alcoholic drinks. I only
Mm.
ever just used to know Guinness.
Mm.
I would say I'm Guinness. I'm Guinness. I'd say because it's hard to give an explanation for that one. I'm Guinness because all you'll ever need is me to fill you up.
Oh, God. We're gonna end the
Listen,
podcast on that.
Gold star for that one, Mark.
That's actually a
Gold
good
star.
answer.
And always drink responsibly, everyone, as well. Always drink responsibly. That was, I have to say, 10 out of 10 for that answer.
That was a good one.
Mark, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining myself and Keith for the chat this evening. Keith, it was pretty impressive, wasn't it? Didn't lie. I told you it was great.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was
We'll
amazing.
give the book one more. You see, guys, I don't know why this is happening with my but we are going to put a link in the description so people can purchase if they want. And I just want to say as well, like, obviously I'm a sports fan, but even though like I wouldn't be completely obsessed with football, this is a brilliant read for so many different reasons. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And before we go, we are on Instagram. It's, if you want to give us a follow, it's Sports Stars Aren't Special. We have a website, sportsstars.aren'tspecial.com. And I think that's it, isn't it, Claire?
Yeah, that's it. Like and subscribe. Mark, thanks so much. And we're going to hear just great things for you in the future.
Lovely. Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.